This has arisen really as a consequence of finding out about this innovative and new course that the Guildhall have been running to support and promote some of the artists who are leaving the Guild, graduating from the Guildhall, who find themselves running enterprises of one form or another. Some of these might be charities, some of them might be social enterprises, some of them will be businesses. And Helena Gaunt, who's the Vice Principal, and I'm pleased to say, very pleased to say, is here today, had the idea of providing a course that would give the training that's required to make that transition. And when we were chatting about it, I thought this is a wonderful idea, and it links very strongly with my own background and experience. And we thought it'd be fantastic to put on an award really as a sort of showcase. It's, the award is secondary, really. This is to provide a showcase for the three projects you're going to hear about today. But we have an award to sort of focus everyone's minds and to provide encouragement, really. We have a fantastic judging panel with us. Two of the directors from each VST you'll know, Chris Mawson and Brian Schooler from the VSTs. We also have Anne Cottis, who's until recently a partner at PwC and has had a long history of experience of being on boards of various artistic bodies and has been supportive of various artistic ventures over the years. And Sir Stephen Whaley-Cohen's going to chair the panel, who was doing so last year, with a very interesting background as well, but lots of experience in theatre in particular that he's going to bring to this. So the format's going to be, we're going to have a presentation from each of the groups. We'll have an opportunity for the panel to ask some questions from the groups, hopefully one or two audience questions too. We're going to try and keep pretty strictly to time if we can. The idea is to fit this into an hour. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the first group, which is the Docklands Sinfonia.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Spencer Down, conductor and founder of the Docklands Sinfonia, the only symphony orchestra serving London's Docklands. This afternoon, I'd like to share with you why I set up the orchestra, what we've done, what we're planning to do, and why we really want your £1,000. I've always had an affinity with the Docklands, having lived there for most of my life. I'd like to introduce you to my granddad. That's me sitting on his lap. A few less grey hairs, but that's what forming a symphony orchestra does to you. My granddad introduced me to music. He was my first teacher. He used to play the trumpet, and he worked in the docks. He very often played in the working men's clubs in the docks, and I used to go along and listen to him, and that's what inspired me to become a musician. Over the years, I've watched the regeneration of the Docklands and seen it transform into an exciting and dynamic part of London. There are now over 100,000 workers in Canary Wharf alone. But while the glitzy tower blocks have sprung up at a dizzying rate, the area remains a cultural wasteland. In Tower Hamlets, 1 in every 2 children live below the poverty line. It is London's most deprived borough. Few young people in the area have experienced the joy of listening to a live symphony orchestra or play a musical instrument. I want to give these children the opportunities that my granddad gave to me. And that's why I set up Docklands Sinfonia. Grounded in our home of St Anne's in Limehouse, our vision is to be a major cultural force in the Docklands and beyond. We're on a mission to bring high-quality music to the area, staging groundbreaking concerts and creating a lasting legacy by inspiring generations of young people. Our orchestra nurtures talent at every level, whether it's through our expanding educational work with schools and music hubs, or it's providing an outlet for young composers, or providing a platform for some of the country's leading young soloists. It also helps for our young musicians to gain work and experience. Our young orchestral musicians are mostly established freelance players, recent music graduates, and students still at music college. We've had phenomenal success so far, or I would say that. We've recorded at Maida Vale Studios for Radio 3 and at Air and Angel Studios for artists such as Katie Melua. We have performed with great classical artists, including Alison Balsam, the cellists Leonard Elschenbrock, Aileen Manahan-Thomas, and the LSO's principal trumpet, Philip Cobb. We've commissioned over 20 new works by mainly young British composers. We've played at the Royal Albert Hall with Grammy Award-winning Imogen Heap, which incidentally was the first time that a concert had been streamed live from the Albert Hall in HD, and that went out to 486,000 people online. Oh yes, we've also played twice for the Queen at Buckingham Palace. But we are firmly grounded in our community in the Docklands with a regular series of concerts at the Hawksmoor Church in St Anne's in Limehouse. Our programmes are adventurous, but accessible. We engage and appeal to wide audiences as well as challenging the norm. In the last year alone, we've performed a sitar concerto and become the first British orchestra to perform an entire programme of Iranian symphonic music. Next month, you may see a flyer around on your seats, but we are performing a Cuban concert. This will include the world premiere of a violin and guitar concerto by Havana-based composer Eduardo Martin, and which we have commissioned. As I said, we are passionate about promoting young British composers and include a premiere at every concert. We're also proud of our partnership with the Hackney Music Hub and are working now closely with a number of primary schools in the local area. We are a registered charity and have a board of trustees. Our patrons are composer, singer and songwriter Mike Bact and local resident Admiral Lord West, former head of the Royal Navy. We have an established strong audience base and attract audiences of between 300 and 500 people per concert. We have big plans for the future. Our ambition is to increase our profile so that the Docklands community regard us as their orchestra. We are working hard to establish strong partnerships with schools, businesses and community organisations in the area. And through this, we are increasing the number of concerts and performances within our community. Within 3 years, we want to develop a youth orchestra in the Docklands. We also want to create a soloist in residence. The role will be to mentor and inspire not only our young musicians, but also other young soloists that we engage. We now have funding in place to record our first CD next year, and we are in talks with the British Council about an overseas tour. Our dream is to be in residence in a high-quality concert hall in the Docklands. Financially, we're in good shape. We have no debts. To date, we've been entirely self-funding. We raise our income through ticket sales, the hiring of the orchestra, individual donations, and our Friends scheme. Over the next 3 years, we're aiming to increase in revenue to £200,000. We aim to do this through increasing the hire of the orchestra, raising sponsorship and donations, and to start applying to grant and funding organisations. So far this year, we have raised 500% more in donations in the first 6 months than we have in the whole of the previous year. And that's thanks to this course, the Creative Entrepreneurs course. But we still have a lot more to do, and that's why we need your help. We are looking for £1,000 from you today to help support an important educational project that is close to our hearts. Music can change lives, but many parents in Tower Hamlets do not have the finances, the motivation or desire to take their children to live performances. This November, we will be performing an educational concert and workshop for 600 local school children for 4 primary schools in Tower Hamlets. This is with renowned children's author and illustrator James Mayhew. Some of you with young children may be familiar with James's books, The Ella Bella Ballerina and Katie's Pictures. For those that aren't, I've got a couple of his books here, and these are the kind of illustrations that James is able to recreate live. Our project brings to life stories of myths, legends, and folk tales that inspired some of the greatest music in the world. While listening to a live orchestra, children can watch in awe as the stories are brought to life by James. The illustrations are projected onto a large screen so that all can watch the art change to the music. Our concerts are highly educational and enormous fun. They're performed to the highest standards by young professional musicians, and their music is played in its entirety. We do not dumb down the music. In the run-up to the concerts, James and our musicians will set the scene for a concert with a series of educational workshops in schools. So why is this project important? Tower Hamlets is the most deprived borough in London, where 49% of children live below the poverty line. The vast majority of children we work with have had little, if any, experience of live classical music. I was recently in a school the other day speaking to a music coordinator, and I was saddened to hear that not one single child in that school was learning an orchestral instrument. It is perhaps not surprising that the Arts Council survey shows that the level of cultural engagement in Tower Hamlets is in the bottom quarter of local authorities in the country. What will the project achieve? Our project offers an outstanding opportunity for children in Tower Hamlets to experience great music and associated learning, and supports teachers in exploring music and education. It will also help the development of our young musicians who are at the start of their careers by providing them with paid and teaching playing opportunities. And this is not just a one-off project. Your investment in our organisation will help forge a long-lasting relationships with these schools and help generate interest for future joint performances. We are currently planning a project in 2017 to include these pupils in a joint performance to commemorate the bombing of a local primary school at the end of World War I. In that bombing, 18 school children died. We have on board Oscar-winning composer Rachel Portman, who has agreed to a new commission to write the piece for us. A key outcome will be to see an increase in the numbers of children from these schools interested in learning an orchestral instrument and showing a heightened interest in classical music. We will evaluate the project by issuing feedback forms to each of our school partners before and after the workshops and concerts. By getting to these kids at a young age, we can sow the seeds that will one day help us to set up a youth orchestra in the area. So why do we need your £1,000? We have a project fully funded at the moment to reach 600 kids in 4 schools. With £1,000, we can hire a bigger capacity hall, the People's Palace, and therefore increase the number to 1,600 kids. £1,000 would enable us to reach out and establish new links and relationships with schools. In particular, we would like to work with the schools in the Poplar Partnership, our local area. Your funding will also help establish ourselves as an orchestra that can run successful events and build expertise within our organisation, which will help us to apply for future funding. It would also help raise our profile within our community. So to summarise, I was one of the lucky ones. Thanks to my granddad and numerous teachers along the way, I've been able to fulfil my dream and become a conductor of a symphony orchestra. And that's what I want to do for the kids of Tower Hamlets. I want to show them the opportunities that are available to them and how music can change their lives. So with £1,000, I can reach 1,000 more children. That's £1 to introduce a child to not only their first experience of live orchestral music, but also great art and literature. As my granddad used to say, now that's a bargain. Thank you.
That was very impressive and passionate. Thank you very much for that. Can please picking up what I'm saying? Everybody here? Yes. Good. First question about the musicians who play in your orchestra. Some look less young and some look very young. Yeah. Do you pay them for that, what they do for you?
They get paid for the majority of their work. What you just saw there in the video was we were actually in our studios recording for Bob Blakely, who was on The Voice. So it was something that we hadn't done before, that we asked for a big band and orchestra. So therefore you saw some of the older players were established, which was great for us as well, because we were able to sit really established freelance players alongside our players. Because we don't normally carry sort of big band, the saxophone, and those who really do the lead playing. And it was great to have the likes of like the lead trumpet player who does the lead trumpet on Strictly Come Dancing. So it's fantastic to have that kind of calibre sitting alongside our musicians for that project.
But when you hire the orchestra out in the way you described, which
Yes.
is where a lot of your income comes from,
Yeah.
do you pay the young players for
Oh, they
coming
all
along
get
and doing
paid.
that?
They all get paid for
They all get
those.
paid something.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, so far you've achieved an awful lot with an income of 40-odd thousand last year, and 200,000 is an admirable target for this year, but it won't go very far in sustaining an orchestra of this sort. You're right in the middle of Docklands. Canary Wharf is there. It seems to me that the key to your success is forging relationships with those businesses in Canary Wharf. What plans have you got to do that?
Yes, certainly. That's been on our minds for a number of years now. How do we break into Canary Wharf? And we have had meetings there with directors, the strategic partners of Canary Wharf Group, and we have performed on the stage that they put on in the summer in Canary Wharf. And certainly looking to the future, I think that is definitely key for us, is to try to look to partnership there with some of the companies there. Lord West himself is a real help. I think he's a non-exec with HSBC and certain companies there. So he's willing to help. He's very helpful.
And how many people do you employ, or
Um,
how? I really mean it. And how do you do all this? Because you seem to be going in quite a lot of different directions. And I think I saw somewhere you have got somebody doing a bit of marketing and PR.
Yes, I'm fortunate to have a wife who's fantastic. That was Kirsty doing the slides there, and the mother-in-law who's
Oh, right.
or the general as I call her. She is fantastic and a brilliant help behind the scenes. She's now retired, so she has time, and that's how we really got the orchestra motoring, really,
Right.
with the support of my wife and her mother. But obviously now going forward, we are looking. We have a board, but we are of trustees, but we are looking to expand that board and looking for expertise in particular areas of fundraising, which we've never applied. We've never gained any money from a funding organisation before, so that's another key area for us.
As a follow-up to that, do you have a day job? Or is this your full-time activity?
This takes up a lot of time, but yeah, I work at the Guildhall. I work in the junior department, where I head up the brass department and teach.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
as well as conducting. And
You say Docklands is a cultural wasteland. Where do your audiences come from, and how do you attract audiences to your performances?
yeah, it's been a bit of a surprise for us as well, actually, in that what we've been doing is really trying to connect with the local community. There's the local community there within the church. And we've been trying to connect with local businesses. For example, next month we're doing a performance called Limefest in Limehouse, where they open the park, and a lot of the residents will come across, and we will be there with flyers telling them about our concert. We regularly do events locally.
Do you do free concerts, or you charge for them all?
No, we charge for our actual concerts that we do at the church.
Yeah.
With having an orchestra like this, continuity in players must be difficult, because particularly, as you say, a lot of them are students. I mean, they're going by the fact they're going to keep moving on. So you're constantly bringing in new players, presumably.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the finest players that we have will end up playing over the road with the LSO or one of the other orchestras. And so, yes, there is a turnover of players. But now we've got in such a situation that we've got a big pool of players that we can draw upon. And it really helps having those great players that have gone off to go and play with other orchestras, and it helps our reputation as an orchestra. So it's a place where they've gained the experience and the repertoire.
So one of the things that I didn't quite understand, with the £1,000, you said it would, you'd be able to reach 1,000 more children by hiring a larger hall. And presumably some of the money needs to go to the workshops, because you were saying you were doing workshops before. So presumably it's a combination. That's what the money would be being used for, a combination of those two things.
We've budgeted, and we've got the full funding to do the workshops and the concert for 600 kids.
Yeah.
Obviously, a bigger concert hall would cost the extra £1,000.
Right.
Now, I would then be on a mission to see
I
if I
see.
can
I
work out the
understand.
workshops as
Yeah.
well.
There's a
Okay.
concert hall next door here.
That's a good
Called the
idea.
Barber. And there's not a lot going on in the daytime there.
I was going to say, Paul is quite involved with a musical charity called Systema. And I wonder, do they have any operations in East End of London with the idea of getting young kids actually playing the instruments as well as coming along to performances?
I'm not aware of anything in East London.
No.
No.
I think
Yeah.
probably we've run out of time. So thank you very much.
Great,
Thank
thank you.
And on to the next one. Thank you very much.
Well done.